Welcome to the Darkstream, Voxday, voxday.blogspot.com, and unauthorized.tv. Good evening, and some people seem to be a little bit confused by the topic tonight, dealing with disappointment. And the reason that I thought that it was important to address something like this is because a lot of people I've seen don't have a very healthy attitude towards matters that might go their way and might not. Okay? And no, this has nothing to do whatsoever with Patreon. That's actually going very well. And we can get into that later if people are interested. But what I'm referring specifically to was the disappointment in the Webtoon short story contest. And yes, that is a dog you hear walking around. It is in fact a Vizsla. But, and it's so common when people are disappointed that they try to pretend otherwise. You've all seen it. A little kid, he wants something, he expects something perhaps, whether it's grades, dessert, a birthday present or anything. And you can see the lip quivering and you can see the incipient tears in the eyes. And yet, he'll try to insist that he's fine. All right? But, and it is good, obviously, to control your emotions. You shouldn't, go storming around, cussing up a storm and cursing the stars and cursing, everything that got in the way of what you hope to achieve. There's no point in that. In fact, that's deeply counterproductive. But it's also counterproductive if you're going to try to pretend that it doesn't matter. And this can be for various reasons. For example, if you're deplatformed and you try to posture and claim that it doesn't matter, well, guess what? If you actually do anything, they're going to try to use that against you in court. So it's always, and that whole well, I wouldn't want to join any club that will have me. I didn't want it anyway. I mean, that's not honest. That's the biggest problem with people who deal with disappointment by embracing denial, is that it puts you on a path of dishonesty. It puts you on a path of not being honest with yourself and others. And of course, as we know, you go far enough down that path and you find yourself in a low status gamma hell. Because dealing with disappointment by using denial is quite possibly one of the first steps in erecting your delusion bubble. Erecting a delusion bubble and trying to use that to protect yourself is something that is going to fundamentally interfere with your ability to have honest social relations with others, and it's going to be fundamentally different it's going to convince people that you can't be relied upon, that you can't be trusted. Now, it's not the biggest deal in the world. It's not a big deal at all. You know, I mean, for me, the I guess I would say frustration is the biggest issue here. It's the main reason that I'm so disappointed with Webtoons, not because they didn't, in my opinion, judge the contest reasonably. I didn't care at all about, you know, being one of the top 6 of the thousands of entrants, right? That wasn't a big deal. I mean, from my perspective, I was really happy about the way that Midnight's War turned out, and I was really happy that I actually managed to finally get something done before the legend Chuck Dixon. You know, Chuck and I were both planning to have separate entries into this contest because, frankly, we didn't feel that anyone could possibly compete with our respective storytelling abilities. You know, there is maybe one story. It was one of the silver brain winners that I probably would have placed above Midnight's War just based on the story. Now, it had no characters. Its art wasn't anywhere nearly as good, but the story was genuinely intriguing. And it was interesting to see that was awarded. But what was frustrating to me is that what we realized after looking at the various entrants that won is that the platform is fundamentally not a reasonable place for us. Because unless your comic is going to become an original, there's absolutely no reason to be there. The way that their algorithms are structured, even the very worst, least popular original is going to have at least 10 times more eyeballs than the most popular Canvas comics. And what we realized in looking at the fact that Midnight's War, which is number one, you know, the art's better, the story's better, you know, all of this stuff from an objective point of view was much better. And even worse, Midnight's War was set up properly for a much longer story. It was a short story that was a lead into a much longer story, kind of the way that some of the short stories in Summa Helvetica were setups for the much larger story in A Throne of Bones. Okay, so the thing that was really a bit confusing to me about this, and I actually wonder if there wasn't some sort of disconnect between what the judges were looking for and what Webtoons actually wanted, because the main thing that they're looking for in these contests is comics that they can turn into originals. And originals are much longer stories. They're like minimum 26 episodes. All of these entrants were between 3 and 5. So when you've got these stories that are very short and complete, like the winner, for example, here, let's just show you a little bit of what we're dealing with here. So this is the grand prize winner, okay? And again, I'm not trying to, it is what it is. It's not about the contest itself. It's about what we learned from the contest, okay? So this is the art from the winner. And then let me see if I can grab a picture from, it's called The Ladder. And it's a story about a ladder in the middle of nowhere that leads to nothing. Now, how they're going to build a 26 episode story around that, I don't know. Maybe they're just thinking that, okay, well, we like the storytelling involved in that, and we think that his talent is such that he'll do something good. Okay, fine, legitimate. Perhaps that's it. All right, I'll just throw up here, just so we don't throw in the color here for by way of contrast, is the art from Midnight's War. So now how you look at those two things and decide that the one on the left is the best possible thing out there, and the one on the right not only isn't good enough to be one of the top 6, but is not even among the 36 runners-up. You have to wonder what's going on. Now, I don't know that this had anything to do with the culture war. I don't even believe that it did. I think that what this was fundamentally about was they want stuff that is more in the manga style, more in the anime style, and they don't want actual professional style Western art. So, for example, here is what we were planning to put up. This is Chuck Dixon's entrant. It's got a very different type of style. But again, you can see that the art is vastly better than the winner, right? And so, so what this tells you, what this told us, and this is the source of the disappointment, is that there's absolutely no reason to be on there. We were thinking that this was going to be a really good way for us to, to go on to a free site, produce our stuff for there, supported by the people who want to see it, and so we thought that this was possibly going to be a significant outlet for us. And what we've learned is no, it's not. It's not suitable for us. We're not going to pick up any significant new fans and so forth. And 3/7 is right. It also tells you that Webtoons is not aligned with the beautiful or the true. Patalrik completely misses the point. He says story matters more than drawing, always has. Yeah, I totally agree with you. But remember, this was a story about a ladder in the middle of nowhere that leads to nothing. And nothing really happens. This is a very complicated and intriguing story that involves fairly sophisticated history, economics, has a lot of interesting characters, and an entirely new spin on the vampire mythos. So I'm quite confident that pretty much everybody would agree that the storyline from Midnight's War is considerably better than the story The Ladder. So what's frustrating and disappointing is that now it looks like we're going to have to build our own platform again. And I don't have the time right now to do that. So somebody said, is there going to be more Midnight's War? Well, almost certainly, but I don't know where we're going to put it, and I don't know what we're going to do with it at the moment. Here's what's intriguing about it is there is very, very significant movie interest in Midnight's War. And when I say significant, I mean it's already on the list of a productions company funding budget, and there's a reasonable chance that we'll be signing something related to that before the end of the year. So, what do we do here? I don't know. And right now somebody said, do you think you'll go ahead and develop a similar app for webcomics? Well, we'd have to find the programmers first. We'd have to find if there's any programmers who do apps, and it's a simple app. We could the people that we have that are doing Social Galactic and Unauthorized and Infogalactic, they could do it very easily, but they're very busy. We don't have the time to we don't have the time to make a webcomic app when we don't have a Roku app or an Android app yet. It just fucking flies. Man, that's one thing I hate about Europe is that because there's no air conditioning and stuff, you have to keep all the windows open, and even though you have screens, the flies, some flies get in sooner or later. Really annoying. So anyhow, if there are people, if there are people who are interested in volunteering and working on an app like that, hey, great, get in touch. But that's not on the top of our priority list. That's why I was so pleased about the existence of Webtoons, because it was already there. It's already done. How about releasing the Webtoons on the Archaven site? Well, it's not set up for that is the problem. It needs to be set up so that the images butt directly up against each other, fit the different size, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it can be done. It's not even difficult. It's very simple. But, we're a little busy here. We're behind on the Castalia library. We're behind on where we want to be with Unauthorized. We don't have the time to simply say, "Oh, great! Well, Webtoons is useless, so let's go ahead and do something else." We're already working on the Rebels Run movie. We're already working on an awful lot of stuff, and so more stuff than you know about. And so building a new webcomic site is just not going to be number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5th priority. So, but there is good news. I'll share this one with you. I'm sure you've seen this if you've been on the blog or on Social Galactic, but it's still a pleasure to be able to bring up, and that is that Awake in the Nightland is now in the process of being what they call cased. So this is not a mock-up. This is the actual leather cowhide with the silver foil stamping. And that's going to ship to all the Castalia Library subscribers before the end of the month is the plan. So, yes, the pages are also silvered. So, but they're not. This is just the cover folded so it looks like it's bound, but there's nothing actually inside that case yet. And so, yeah. So, the subscription goes for $100 per book. So it's $50 a month, and you get a book every other month. If there are any left, they'll sell for $150. Why the pyramid on the cover? Well, if you read the book, you would know. It's the final redoubt, the last redoubt. So, yeah, so we went with the silver and black because it fits the book. I mean, Awake in the Nightland is a modern classic. It's absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend reading it, whether you get the ebook or you get the $250 goat skin with real gold. The novel is awesome. But, you know, there we have some disappointment too, because the Italians, being Italian, survived 3.5, 4 months of economic lockdown, and then worked for a couple weeks, and then promptly all went on vacation for August. So I was trying to get through to my goatskin guy, and of course, we're pals now because I'm one of the few people who buys hundreds of square meters of goatskin, and so I have his personal cell phone. So I call him up and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Where are the goatskins for the missionaries and for the Awake? He's like, oh yeah, well, I'm at the ocean, and I can hear like kids in the background. I'm like, are you on vacation? He's like, yeah, I've been on vacation all week. It's like, oh, for crying out loud. So, we've got the order in. The books are all printed, but we have to wait for the Italians to stop vacationing long enough to send the goatskins to the bindery. So, it'll be done. It'll get there. Everybody who's paid for the books is going to receive exactly what they expect with very high quality. But, it's taking longer than, frankly, I thought was humanly possible. The thing is, I'm not even disappointed except in myself. I mean, I live in Italy. I speak Italian. How did I not... half the people I know are on vacation. But somehow part of me just assumed, stupidly, that because they had been on lockdown so long, surely they're not going to all go on vacation. Wouldn't they get caught up on it? Yeah, exactly. Wasn't the quarantine the vacation? How much more vacation do you need? So anyhow, and of course, I tell Space Bunny this, and I got no sympathy. She's like, well, what do you expect? They're not going to give up their vacations just because they couldn't do any work for an entire quarter. So anyhow, but let's get back to the topic of dealing with the disappointment. Admit it. Admit that you're disappointed. I'm disappointed that Webtoons is not going to be a good outlet for us. And the sooner that you admit it, the sooner that you can start doing something about it. Now, I don't know what we're going to do with regards to a digital comic outlet. There's a number of opportunities. We can, we already decided Comixology is out. DC Universe is being, thrown out. So, maybe going in that direction is not a good idea. We could just put them up on, on the Archaven website. Perhaps if we do a little bit of tweaking, we can make our own Webtoon type app. It's a possibility. So there's a lot of different possibilities, but you have to accept the reality of the disappointment in order for you to productively address your next steps. And so, Archaven's not going to stop. You know, we've actually got a surprising number of projects that are either done or very close to being done that we just need to, we've been so overworked with the Castalia library stuff that we need to, get the things out, and we will. But Webtoons is not going to be a part of that, and we just have to accept it. And it's fine. I mean, I'm not complaining about Webtoons' decisions. I mean, they're very successful at what they do. What they do works for them. They do not exist in order to support Western-style comics. Fine. Western-style comics are in a complete meltdown because of the corporate cancer that has completely devoured both Marvel and DC. So now we are going to leave Hypergamouse up on Webtoons. It does very well up there. It's very easy to produce. It doesn't take long. It's 4 frames. But the larger stuff, not so much. Guys, stop asking for updates on things. There's 1,000 people who are interested. Okay? So when you go, well, I just want to know. Well, yeah, somebody else just wanted to know yesterday, and somebody else just wanted to know the day before it. Stop it. Everything got essentially stopped in its tracks for 3 to 4 months. So everything is behind. We're working on it, and we're just getting caught up on the Castalia library stuff. And we're wrapping up Divine Comedy. We're wrapping up Plutarch, and as soon as we get the second volume of Plutarch done, then that's going to give us time to focus on Junior Classics. So I'm not going to give any dates. Just rest assured, people are working very hard on it. So anyhow, that's all I've got on the titular topic. So does anyone have any questions, super chats, etc., and we can address them? I need an update on my updates. Well, the thing is, I understand not everybody is on the blog, and I understand that not everybody is on Social Galactic, but those are the places to ask those questions. And those are the places to search if you want answers. This is not for tech support. When's the next stupid question day? I haven't even thought about it. Vacation was good. My wife said it was the vacationist vacation that we ever had, mostly because I forgot my hard drive that I'd put everything on, and so my ability to ignore the fact that we were on vacation was limited. So she quite enjoyed that. Drywall O says, thanks, good sir. You're welcome. Do you have a prediction for who will win the Champions League? I do not. I haven't really paid much attention this season, to be honest with you. How did Owen know where Toe Rogan was going to move to and when? Well, because he knew that he was going to move from California. He needed to go to a big urban environment. And he was going to go for a low tax state, so that's Texas. And if you go to Texas and you're more or less on the middle left, Austin is really the only place for you. Girl Hack says, off topic, but exactly how does one prepare for war, especially in a country where guns are illegal? Well, illegally is really all I can say. I mean, if you're preparing for war, then why are you even paying attention to what the laws are? There are no... Civil law does not apply during wartime. Who's your favorite bass player? These days, probably Bo from Baby Metal. He does stuff on the bass that is just mind-blowing, and he's a total machine. Space Bunny hit their heart. No, I just forgot it. It was really stupid. I copied everything over. Had it ready to go, and then just didn't stick it in my computer bag. Dr. Zume says, when you construct an idea or concept, do you start from axiomatic principles and build up, or look at the fruits and work back? Example of debt equals money, or maybe free trade arguments. Well, usually I look at the consequences and work backward. Like when I see a anomaly, or where I see a disruption between the claims of the argument and the results, then I start looking for the mistakes. I mean, that's probably one of my most refined skills, is seeing logical anomalies and identifying them. Is it worth the risk? Well, you're not ready for war if you're not even ready to break the law. So, that's a judgment call that only the person involved can make. Kind of the same way that Ludwig von Mises says in Human Action that only acting man can know his motivations. Only you can decide when it's a time for peace or it's a time for war. It's your call. Blue North Bear says, do you foresee other comic creators abandoning Marvel DC enough to cripple them and perhaps move to your realm? It doesn't work that way. You actually kind of have it backwards. A lot of the independent guys, the contract guys, they all aspire to work for Marvel DC. And what they're learning is that it's not an option for them. And yes, that is going to help us, because some of the people that didn't want to work with us before, because they were afraid that if they did so, they wouldn't be able to work with Marvel DC. Well, that's no longer a concern for them, because they no longer believe they're going to have any opportunity to do so. I just wanted to ask, any updates on the sun burning out? Well, we've been watching closely, and with the decline in the sunspots and stuff, I think that we can probably move it forward by 6,723 years. So there's your update. You might want to keep track of the math. Will the U.S. economy bounce back prior to total collapse, or will it be a slow roll downhill? The slow roll will continue. Obviously, there will be large drop-offs and partial recoveries, but you're going to see the economy continue to get worse and worse and worse, mostly because the demographics, the people, are getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, they're literally more stupid on average, less able to understand the connection between their actions and the consequences. They're less disciplined, and there's absolutely no reason for economic optimism in the long term. Best NFL running back of all time. Well, in terms of performance, everyone would say Jim Brown, and that's a reasonable answer. I am not entirely certain about that, because Jim Brown had such a fundamental physical advantage over so many of the players of his era. It's kind of like the I'm spacing on the name, the basketball player, the giant one, Chamberlain. Will Chamberlain was a great player, but of course he was dominant. How could he not be? And he wasn't even as dominant as perhaps you would think he should have been. For my money, the best NFL running back I ever saw was Barry Sanders, because Barry Sanders had no help. He had no line, didn't have much of a quarterback, they didn't have receivers, everybody knew it was coming, and yet he still had the ability to carry the team. You know, for me it would definitely be between Emmett and Peyton. Now my favorite running back is probably still Adrian Peterson, because it was just so fun to watch him play. You know, the combination of speed and power was so much fun to watch. Let's see here. Anthony says, come on, people, the only updates we need to ask here is an ETA of the Cholito and GIF emojis. Good point. We really need to, actually I need to update we need new badges. I need to update the badges. So, I mean, Bo Jackson was great, no question, but I don't think his career was long enough to put him in that category. You know, I mean, you could, but you know, I mean, I'll never forget this play that Sanders made against the Colts, where he faked out a cornerback who was trying to tackle him in the open field so badly that the cornerback spun around in a circle and fell on his butt. And Sanders did it while he was running at pretty much full speed. It was just astonishing. Are you a Merlot or a Shiraz man? I'm pretty agnostic on that. I mean, I would have said Merlot. I'm probably leaning Merlot. You know, I was a bit of a Merlot aficionado back 10, 12 years ago, but then I was introduced to Tempranillo and Priorat, and while I'm not the Priorat fanatic that Farley is, you know, I do also enjoy a good Rioja. I do like Shiraz, though. I do like Shiraz as well, or Syrah, as we usually call it. So, the Cholito badge. So, all right. Well, that's all for tonight. But thanks for tuning in, and you know, remember, when you get knocked down, just get back up. It's fine to be disappointed. You know, you don't need to try to convince everybody that everything is always happy and everything is always great and that you're pleased with every possible result. That's not possible. And there's going to be times that you're going to be disappointed with results. There's going to be times when you're going to be disappointed in people. And it's fine. But don't let it, you know, don't deny it, but don't let it control you either. And so, as far as what we're going to do on the comics front, I don't know yet. We're considering that now. And when we figure it out, we'll let you know. So, in the meantime, have a good evening. I'm Voxday, and this is the Darkstream.